If I were to looking to hire a firm that can't tell me if they will take my money and not be able to give me a firm date as to when they will actually start working and getting those results, and you give them a 4-year window, I would say that that was not someone I'd want to do business with. Thank you.
What's the difference between an independent contractor and an employee?
What's the difference between an independent contractor and an employee?
Yep.
Okay, I was a small business guy. We used both. I would pay employees. They would deduct.
How is a truck driver supposed to know whether he's an independent contractor or an employee if the Secretary of State for CRA doesn't know what it is?
Can you repeat that question? Confident in these measures.
Right, but we heard from the trucking industry, and with all due respect, to point to something that took place 14 years ago and sort of absolve yourself of responsibility is fairly rich.
This Guy's Garage. Like and subscribe.
Meeting to order. Welcome to meeting number 15 on the Standing Committee on Transport, Infrastructure and Communities. Pursuant to Standing Order 1082 and the motion adopted by the committee on Thursday, September 18th, 2025, the committee is resuming its study on the changing landscape of truck drivers in Canada. Colleagues, I'd now like to welcome our witnesses for today.
Mr. Chair, just a brief point of order, and I will be brief here as I'm eager to hear the Minister. Last meeting, you ended the meeting by gaveling out, as colloquially known, or adjourning it without the will of the committee. That is a breach of the privilege of the members here. We have seen you be an excellent chair in the past, but we were deeply troubled by that, and we would ask in the future that you ensure that you have the will of the room before adjourning a meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lawrence. I appreciate those comments, and I apologize to members. We have appearing before us today, colleagues, the Honourable WayneLong, Secretary of State, Canada Revenue Agency and Financial Institutions.
Secretary, do you prefer Secretary or Minister?
It's whatever you want. I get secretary, I get minister, and I get Wayne. So
okay,
whatever.
Secretary.
Yes.
I'd like to talk to you. You mentioned the information sharing agreement that would be authorized by Parliament. What happened to C-59?
Well, I think for us right now, it's important to look forward and to do what's necessary forward. I was sworn in as secretary on May 13th. I don't believe in looking backwards. I'm glad
that you don't believe in looking backwards, Secretary, but just getting to the point, C-59 would have authorized the same thing, and it was killed by the decision by this Prime Minister, Mark Carney, to go to a spring election. So I just want to make sure that everyone here knows that your government, said it had a fix and brought that towards the previous Parliament and instead allowed it to lapse. So I don't take any of the things you've said today in those information sharing agreements, as important as they are. But I just want you to bear some responsibility. I do know that you're new here. So, Secretary, moving to the next part here, when will T4As when will this new system be implemented? Do you have a date?
I was sworn in May of 2025, and we took immediate action. I recognized the Drivers' Inc. issue was a problem. I've heard from Canadians, I've heard from colleagues on both sides of the House. I guess what I would ask respectfully through you, Mr. Chair, is my hope is that we have put these measures into Budget 2025. And my hope is that your party will actually support our budget, pass our budget, so we can move forward with these measures.
So I'm glad that you're hopeful. And I'm also hopeful for an answer. When will the measures when will there be actual changes at CRA that enforce the rules as they exist that they have not been enforcing?
I think the first step is to actually pass the budget so we can move these measures forward. I mean, if you want to pin me down to an actual date, I can't give you a date within like a month or two. I think the question
1 year, 2 years.
The question with respect back to you would be, is your party prepared to pass the budget? With these measures, we are committing $77.6 million in this budget over 4 years. $19.2 million.
So 4 years is what you're saying?
Each year after to up enforcement and to make sure that that moratorium is lifted. So
I think you know clearly where my party is on it. And Mr. Chair, I'm going to take some of my time here. Secretary, I ask you a very simple question. If this budget was to pass tomorrow, which will probably not be with the support of the Conservative Party, but if it did, are we talking 1 year, 2 year, 3 years, or the 4 years you've been talking about? Can you not answer a simple question as to something that is directly under your responsibility?
The first step is to pass the budget. The next step is for us to take that and go through the process. I would say, soon after, if you want to pin me down to an actual month or a day, I'm not going to do that. But, first steps for us is to pass Budget 2025. I'm hoping the members on your side will actually support the budget. There's a lot of great measures in that budget. It's a generational budget. We don't hear a lot positive from your side about that.
Well,
the first step, this measure is in Budget 2025.
So the Maritime Trucking Association came here, and I asked them specifically if you had spoken to them about this. They had not. We've had every single trucking association, including the Canadian Trucking Alliance, which represents right across coast to coast to coast, and their number one ask was this. And so if you can't give us a date, sir, why would we want to support a budget if you can't even say with any sense within 4 years that you can get this done? So I think that it falls on you, sir, to be able to give us at least a date within the next 4 years. When will this collection happen? Tell it to the Canadian Trucking Alliance and all the trucking firms that came in here when you are going to be doing your job.
We are committed to making this happen. Step one is to pass the budget, which clearly your party has a lot of hesitation to do, which is puzzling to me, but that's what we see in the other side. I think my record shows that, I have a business background before politics. I'm a man of action. I want results. I believe in accountability. I come from that environment, and we will endeavor to make this happen as soon as we can.
I'm really glad that someone knows how to sign the front end of a check and not just the back side. I think it's important in government to have all those perspectives in there. But I will say that if I were looking to hire a firm that can't tell me if they will take my money and not be able to give me a firm date as to when they will actually start working and getting those results, and you give them a 4-year window, I would say that was not someone I'd want to do business with. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We have heard throughout this study from many witnesses who've called for the reinstating of the T4A reporting penalties. As we all know and we're aware, we have this opportunity with Budget 2025 to do just that. Can you tell me about how this changed, what this means in terms of compliance expectations and enforcement timelines? So how do we send the signal, a really strong signal to the bad actors, right? Not the folks who are paying their taxes, doing all the appropriate things as independent contractors and complying appropriately, but how do we send the really strong signal through the compliance mechanisms that this is not acceptable?
Well, obviously, and thank you for the question. I would say the first step is to take the initiatives we're taking in Budget 2025. First step. We are going to lift the moratorium on issuing T4As. Why the Harper government did that in 2011 is beyond me. It's created a problem. Our new government was elected in April. I was sworn in May. And we're going to address the problem. There's many layers to the problem. From a shipper's standpoint, a shipper who ships, beef that plays by the rules and uses a trucking company that plays by the rules, that's how it should be. And they should compete against other, for this example, beef shippers and other trucking companies. But when you've got instances where you've got companies that are encouraging Drivers Inc., number one, and then you've got drivers that are calling legitimate companies saying, will you accept Drivers Inc. companies? Number two, you've got a multi-layered problem here, which lessens competition, creates havoc in the industry, and rewards unfair players. It's no secret we're a big country. It's no secret that we have distribution problems. I live that. It's tough to get products from coast to coast to coast in a efficient, price-competitive manner. But when the industry, and there's 300,000 truckers in this country, when that industry gets thrown into havoc by truckers and trucking companies that compete against bad actors, it weakens those companies. I mean, we saw stories of family-owned companies that were at this committee that are literally saying they're telling their kids not to get out of the business. That's pretty sad to see. That's pretty sad to see. And we see some of that in New Brunswick too. We want to strengthen that industry. We want those companies that are family-run, that are good businesses to thrive, to be competitive. But we're undermining that by keeping that moratorium in place. So I've identified the problem. I like to think I take action when I see issues. It's not perfect all the time, but I want to try to fix this. So it's a problem. We're going to fix it. We're going to fix it through the budget. We've allocated money. CRA is now going to be equipped to enforce, and we're going to lift that moratorium so we can make sure that companies know, hey, I got to issue T4As now, because if I don't, I'm going to be penalized. So we want to strengthen the industry. If we strengthen the industry, we'll be competitive. It strengthens our economy, and I'm proud of the measures we're taking. Hopefully the Conservatives will support our budget.
Just a quick question. What do penalties look like for bad actors? I'm curious if we know what that might look like.
Well, there would be fines involved. I mean, obviously, in the scale of the incident. I mean, you know, if it's one small company that does one T4A, or it's a larger company that's encouraging it, I mean, the fines would scale. But in the end, we want to move forward. We want to up enforcement measures. And, you know, passing the budget's going to require opposition members, hopefully, that will support our budget, because we've got a lot of great measures in there. It's a generational budget. It's going to transform our country. We're going to build our economy. We're going to invest in each other. Hopefully, the Conservatives will come on board and support.
Thank you, Ms. Wien, and next we'll go to Mr. Lawrence. Mr. Lawrence, the floor is yours. You have 5 minutes, sir.
Thank you, and thank you, Minister, for being here. I want to actually carry on from where my Bloc colleague left off in talking about some of the investigation work. Even though there have been new monies announced in the budget, there were actually monies announced in 2023 for a similar project. And on that, it was $23 million over 5 years, which equates to about $5 million per year. We received testimony earlier that there were 129 successful reclassifications. That cost $77,000 per reclassification. What would be the goal at the average cost of a reclassification from this additional monies being announced?
I would say this. I think that if you want to look at just even cost versus benefits, I mean, you know, we are going to invest $77 million over 4 years, 19.2 years after. This will produce additional revenue of $160 million. I'm very, very
just
comfortable.
On that, Mr. Long, just on that, Minister, how much additional revenue have the 2 years that have gone by from the reclassification created?
Can you repeat that question, please?
So you've already been at this for 2 years. You spent $10 million over the last two fiscal years reclassifying drivers. You've got 129. How much money has been generated for the Treasury?
I would say that I'm very, very comfortable with what the CRA is doing. I'm very, very comfortable with the compliance actions they're taking. I realize that, and
I don't want to be rude, but I did ask a specific question, and you've made projections, so you must know what you've done so far. How much? Just a number.
I think that the fact that we're making this measure and we're taking this investment of $77 million over 4 years to ramp up compliance, to catch bad actors, We were projecting
So how much of the last 2
$160
years
million.
have you generated from the reclassification efforts where you spent $10 million?
I think that what we're doing will work. I think that we will level the playing field. I think that once and for all, we're going to actually...
Mr. Minister, how many reclassifications will you accomplish over the next 5 years? It's all good to hear about money being spent, but if it's accomplishing nothing, it's of no value.
I would reject the premise of that. I think that the fact that you would say it's accomplishing nothing, I think that the actions we're taking in Budget 2025 are huge. I think they're
how many reclassifications will the $77 million account? How many?
I think that what we're doing shows that we will produce more revenue than the expense.
Mr. Long, what's the difference between an independent contractor and an employee?
The fact that we're going to actually
Mr. Long, what's the difference between an employee and
Mr. Speaker, just very quickly, and it's not to disturb at all the questions, but I think we're at a point now where the interpreters are going to have a hard time here.
Yeah,
so
my
I wonder if we
apologies.
could ask question, answer question,
It'd be nice if we got an answer.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Mr. Lawrence, I had 15 seconds on just so that you can ensure your responses, but I'd like to ask all members to ensure that we're giving a chance to respond just for the benefit and health of our interpreters. Thank you.
So, Minister Long, to you again. What's the difference between an independent contractor and an employee?
What's the difference between an independent contractor and an employee?
Yep.
Okay, I was a small business guy. We used both. I would pay employees. They would deduct.
How is a truck driver supposed to know whether he's an independent contractor or an employee if the Secretary of State for CRA doesn't know what it is?
Can you repeat that question?
What is the difference between an independent contractor and an employee?
Okay, an employee is paid through your payroll. Okay, there's deductions taken.
Yes.
You have.
But how are you supposed to? There's a
an independent contractor is an independent contractor. He's an independent business person. He can be incorporated. He takes his own deductions. He pays his own salary. The issue's been that T4As haven't been issued. Is that what you mean? What the difference? Like,
I'm asking you. So some of these folks are bad actors, but some of them just don't know whether they are an independent contractor and an employee. So what are the distinguishing points between an independent contractor and an employee?
Well, once we solve the T4A issue that Stephen Harper put in 2011, independent contractors will get issued a T4A.
But they have
and the Harper government put a moratorium in 2011 to lift penalties.
How much time do you have left? Okay.
So the issue between an independent, the issue between an employee and an independent contractor couldn't be more different.
So I'll just end here. Thank you, Minister. It is clear that the Minister does not know the difference between an independent contractor and an employee, and yet he's going to be fining business people who, in some cases, are just innocently attempting to run their business to decide whether they are. If the guy who's in charge of the entire department doesn't know, what chance does a truck driver have?
Thank you very much, Mr. Lawrence. Next, we'll go to Ms. Wien. Ms. Wien, the floor is yours. You have 5 minutes, please.
Thank you, Mr.
I'm going to go, and I must say it was a little fib on my part, Secretary of State. I'm going to ask you a couple of questions, if that's okay. I think throughout this particular, throughout this particular testimony, what I've liked is your experience in the private sector as a business owner. You can relate a lot to this file, and in particular, this issue of Drivers, Inc. So. Again, I think it's really important to stress the importance of the passing of this budget because there are solutions on the table within this budget. And you've talked about the financial aspect. I want you to talk a little bit about, if you can, in the moments we have, just unpack for those in particular that are watching at home or those that will read the transcripts. What will this money do in terms of initiating solutions and layman's terms, if you could?
Thank you for the question and good morning. And to your point, before I was blessed with this opportunity in politics, I was a small business owner and worked for actually an international corporate and dealt with a lot of shippers and did a lot of shipping. Cents per pound are the difference at times for a shipper or a company shipping between being in business and not being in business, number one. So there are times when shippers may be tempted to go with a lower rate. Fair. That's business. But if that lower rate is there because that player plays unfairly, doesn't pay his taxes, doesn't do his deductions, maybe doesn't train his workers, maybe provides inferior equipment, it's not what will build our economy and make our sectors and economy strong. So we need to correct that. That has been something that needs to be corrected. Obviously, you've had lots of testimony here at committee, and we're taking action. We're a new government. We were elected on April 28th, if I remember that day. I'm sure all members remember that day, April 28th. And I was given the privilege to have this role. And I came into this role saying, I'm going to take action, I'm going to identify problems, and I'm going to try to fix things and inequities I see.
You've talked about potential fines. You've talked about the deductions that are being omitted by those that are taking advantage of the system. Sorry? Independent
go ahead.
Sure, we'll use that word. Has CRA quantified at all what that amount of revenue will be that is gained from this change, this new model?
Well, I mean, the CRA, we're projecting that it will bring in revenue of $160 million over 4 years. So we're going to invest $77 million to up enforcement, and we believe the numbers we've been working with are $160 million, if that's what you mean. I mean, I think if you want to look at, is that your question, or are you talking about just what's the cost to the economy or what's been lost?
What's the actual revenue the government's going to see to the Treasury as a result?
Yeah, it'd be $160 million over 4 years.
Okay. So, I mean, doing some backwards math then, with 77 invested and 160 gained, we don't know how many, the number that are, the amount of enforcement that's actually going to take place, like how many drivers are going to be, or independent contractors are going to be sought out with this measure over 4 years?
I mean, CRA is doing compliance actions now. Once CRA issues T4As, because, the problem again is, without a penalty on not issuing T4As, I mean, I've been in business. There'd be no incentive at times to issue them. If they're not issued, we can't find them. They're not in the system. So once more T4As are issued, it allows CRA to track, to be able to audit, to do compliance checks.
Right.
So I think it's somewhat self-fulfilling. Once a moratorium is lifted, there's going to be all kinds of more opportunities for CRA to actually do checks and catch bad actors and people that aren't issuing T4As. We all know what happens.
But some of those bad actors over the course of the last 2 years have been, without the lifting of this order, have been discovered.
Right. Right.
So can you not extrapolate from that how many, bad actors are going to be caught?
We will continue to do compliance checks, do audits, check bad actors. I'm absolutely convinced the $77.6 million that we are investing in this budget will, again, let's be clear. There's not going to be a definitive moment where this is fixed. This is a moving target. It's evolving, but I believe that $77.6 million is a big first step. I think lifting the moratorium that the Harper government put in 2011 is a great step, and we are determined to strengthen the trucking industry. I know the trucking industry is extremely supportive, And we're very, very confident in these measures.
Right, but we heard from the trucking industry, and with all due respect, to point to something that took place 14 years ago and sort of absolve yourself of responsibility is fairly rich. Because obviously this whole dumpster fire has festered over the last. We heard that very clearly from the Canadian Trucking Association. Not just frankly at these hearings. I've been on this committee since 2021, and we've had the Canadian Trucking Alliance here previously, and we had those discussions, and we've heard this, and no action was taken. So let me ask. There's of course been talk of joint task force and interdepartment cooperation, and that's I think what you're aiming for with these provisions. But obviously that's taken place for the last couple of years as well. So are there any actual sort of measurable outcomes for what that looks like in terms of fines? I know you talked about fines in reference to a previous question being scalable, but is there a target for the number of prosecutions, number of fines? What does enforcement actually look like?
When we allocate the money, which we're allocating in the budget, $77.6 million to the CRA, it's going to up enforcement efforts. And there's absolutely no doubt in my mind that when that moratorium is lifted, more companies will have T4As in the system. Mm-hmm. There will be more compliance checks, there will be more audits, and we'll be able to catch and find bad actors. And I think the fact that this measure we're projecting will generate $160 million versus an investment, if you will, of $77 million. I think it's.
Thank you.
And you know what? It's not even really about, on this one, it's not about the $160 million versus the $77 million to me. It's about leveling the playing field. It's about creating a stronger, healthier trucking industry for our country.
Thank you very much.